Am I with y'all?
You are now.
Okay.
You are now. Yep. Where'd Miss Councilwoman Clark go?
She's on the dark side of the moon, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, this time we're gonna call a budget workshop. Together, we have with us today, Finance Director, Ms. Kimberly Burgess, our attorney, Mr. David Taylor, Tisha Williams, she's our acting clerk to council, Councilwoman Clark, Councilman Johnson, and also our Emergency Service Director, Mr. Frank Edwards, and also Mr. Andrew Fulgham and myself. So at this time, I guess that we're gonna hear from Ms. Kimberly Burgess. Am I right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, council members. I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see the changes. I'm going to make it larger. Can you see that?
No, ma'am.
No?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay, well, we'll try and share it again. There we go. How's that?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So there have been some changes to the budget from the second reading. There was an increase of approximately $3,368,100. And of that amount, $1,208,300 was a carry forward for the this $1,200,000. The Steiny Road Fire Station was $770,000. We had some additional IT malware expenditures that were approved by the council on January of 2020 of approximately $110,000 that was not included, has not been expended, and was not included in the fiscal year 2021 budget prior to the third reading. We also had the grant match of $150,000, and then there were some items that have been budgeted but unspent for the fiscal year 1920, so we carried that amount over from the prior year budget. That's approximately $170,000. We also had this $83,000 cash carry forward for the Mead Road Fire Station sprinkler system. It was approved, and that money has not yet been expended to complete that, so that was carried forward. And then we had an addition of $1,808,000 to the Marsh Cove, for the Marsh Cove Fire Station. Of that amount was the $1,308,000 of USDA RDA bond proceeds, and then there's also a $500,000 grant for the Marsh Cove Fire Station, so we needed to include those in the income as well. And then the other item was we had an increase of approximately $127,500 for some additional grant match requirements. Those, so that now the total revenues are $33,898,200. And we had some offsetting expenditures. One of those items, you can see this long list. This is increases and or decreases, adjustments to the medical insurance line items. Those adjustments totaled $159,900. So because we had some corrections to this year's financial statements for those, so we had to carry that forward into the new budget year. We also increased the capital outlay for the remainder to complete the Steiny Road Fire Station. We had anticipated that the Steiny Road Fire Station would be complete prior to this fiscal year end. However, it will not be, and we anticipate that approximately it will require $770,000 in order to complete the fire station. So we're carrying that forward. That 110,000, we had $55,000 of technology upgrades that needed to be included as an expenditure from that prior January 2020 ordinance for the IT malware expenditures. We also had, again, we increased the revenue for the bond proceeds and the grant. And this is the outlay for the construction of Marsh Code Fire Station of $1,808,000, and then the Mead Road sprinkler, $83,000. At the last budget workshop council meeting that we had, the council asked that we make some provisions for a new animal control vehicle. So that's $50,000 included in this budget for that. And I've highlighted this in yellow because in the detailed budget that was included with the ordinance, this amount has changed. So it has been reclassed from another budget line item. So if you look at the detail, this amount has changed. That'll have to be approved by you, obviously. We did reduce overtime in the detention center to offset the increase that we had to have in the new medical services contract. We had to increase that amount and provide for the cost pool. So that was an increase of $35,200, and that was offset by the decrease in the overtime of $50,000. We had some other items. We had a consulting services. For a social media consultant, we added $18,000 to the budget for that. That was partially offset by a reduction in the annual leave expense line item of $15,000. That line item has not been used, so we felt that it would be that would be an appropriate way to compensate for these additional social media consultant. We had some small line item adjustments for postage and again for overtime in the Sergeant Jasper Park. And we did increase the park development for both Sergeant Jasper and for the Parks and Rec Department, one $60,000, the other $90,000 for the completion of the water and sewer for the restrooms that were constructed in this prior year, last year. And also, this is where the $50,000 reclass. So we had some, we decreased the match from $290,000 to $150,000. We also added the church Steiny drainage that was mentioned a couple of council meetings ago. That would be the grant match for that. And then we increased the airport match to $297,500. And we added some additional consulting services for an ongoing solid waste study that we have. The $8,000 is to complete that study. And then there's an ongoing architectural study for the detention center. And the remainder of that contract is $20,000. So we added those to the budget so that our total expenditures are, again, $33,898,200. So, and did you have any questions or?
Mr. Chairman, animal control vehicle.
Yes, sir.
$50,000 for animal control vehicle. Is that what that vehicle costs?
I got a price from the chief deputy, and he actually had it a few $1,000s higher, but that was the quote that he got. Yes, sir.
Well, okay.
Hopefully.
Okay, I had all the vehicles. So.
$50,000. What they got in the vehicle?
Well, I know they have cages to put the various animals in. But it is a separate line item. It's it's listed as a new vehicle under the sheriff department. At 50,000, it's so that it would not be confused with the sheriff cars. So it could be readily identified as a new vehicle. Hopefully, I tried to reach out to find some vendors online. You had to reach out to them, and I was unable to contact them. They didn't have their prices readily available online.
I'm kind of like somebody else. Whoever else asked a question. I haul a lot of animals. What do you need in there other than a little bit of wire?
The ones that I saw had various size cages that were metal that you would put the animals in, and you could either have a van or a pickup truck. I'm not sure which of the two I was given the quote on, but it was, you know, by the time you buy a pickup truck, I guess you could be in the $30,000 to $35,000 range, and then when you upfit it with the various cages, another 15,000.
I see.
That van's gonna cost about the same as a pickup, so.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sorry.
Ms. Burgess, the total adjustment in the expenditures. Now, will your total revenues accommodate your adjustment in the expenditures?
Yes, sir. It does. They balance. The largest part of that increase in both the expenditure and the revenue is due to the cash carry forward for the uncompleted, the items that were budgeted this year but have not been expended, such as Stiny Road Fire Station. And then the Marsh Cove, that revenue is from bond proceeds and from a grant. So, and then we had another 150,000 from a different grant. So there's really no additional increase in millage rate, and all of this, the additional revenue basically comes from either carry forwards, grants, or bond proceeds.
And those grants have already been acknowledged, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. They've all been acknowledged, awarded.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Burgess? Any comments from the administrator?
No, sir, no comments on this, but just want to remind you, we also have the budget amendment for this current
Right.
fiscal year on the agenda.
Right, yeah. That's okay. So no other questions on the 2021 budget. We'll go to the budget amendment for fiscal year 1920. Like Ms. Burgess.
Yes, sir. I'm going to see if I have anything I can share with you on this. Let's see. I can't read these. Oh, this is the ordinance. So on as you can see on this list, this is the ordinance itself. And then we have various lists. I'm trying to get to those, sorry. So the first one here our budget ordinance requires council approval for any transfers greater than $5,000. This is a rather lengthy list, and because this is June 15th, these amounts will change somewhat until we reach June 30th. So I just wanted to basically, obviously, have the first reading and get this process, the budget amendment process, moving forward. I can tell you that some of these amounts have already changed simply because this was run on June 8th. We had payroll on June 12th, And so that some of these amounts would have already changed. This is a projection. This is the current. And so we're looking at projections where we think we'll be. And again, it will change as we move forward in the approval process. So this is several pages of this, and trying to get to the last page of this one.
Kim, this is David. Can you double? We can't see anything but your screen.
Can you see that?
I can see where you have the budget amendment ordinance highlighted as a PDF, but it didn't pop up.
You're sharing the wrong screen, Kim.
Am I?
Yes, ma'am. It's showing your documents.
Oh, well, I wonder how that's happening, because I can see what I'm looking at. I can see it.
Oh,
Why can't you see it?
I know
So
what we're
you're
looking
seeing
at.
my documents. This is interesting. So I went here. Let's see if I have it up here. That's the budget.
Okay, they're looking at the actual.
Can you see that now?
They're looking at the files of that, your council meeting.
I need to stop the share. Sorry. This technology is great unless you don't know how to use it. Let's see. Can you see that? Can you see the ordinance? Oh, that's sideways.
No,
Can't see that.
no, ma'am.
What?
We have the ordinance in our packet.
That's, you have the same ordinance.
Right.
So I just don't understand why you can't see what, I apologize. I thought I had this all set up.
If you want to open up the screen that you're actually clicking on, you'll be able to do it that way as well. So the screen that has the document that you're about to show everyone,
Yes?
drag the file over to that screen and you should be okay.
Oh goodness, you're asking me to do something. You're asking me to do this. So I'm gonna drag this. Can you see it? No?
Go ahead and share your screen one more time.
All right. I have to make it large.
But I have the ordinance here.
I got
Yes, sir.
It's included in our packet. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Right.
Can you see this?
Okay, that's better.
Yes, ma'am. We see it now.
Yay. You can see it. Hey. All right, I apologize for that. I thought you could, so basically what you're looking at now is the last of the totals for the adjustments or amendments greater than $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And well, let's see if I can make this move. There we go. Then we have the disaster expenses that again, all of this is fluid. It's continuing to change. These disaster expenses include the Shinger Avenue fire. They include Hurricane Dorian. They include the IT malware attack that we had, and they also include any expenditures through June 8th that we had for COVID-19. So right now, obviously we didn't budget for any of this, and it would be $499,000 increase to the budget. Then we had throughout the year, we had some supplemental appropriations that the council approved, but we have not yet expended all of these items. The council approved the Mead Road Fire Station sprinkler. Then we had a grease trap, which is included in the $770,000 that's been carried forward. We had the IT emergency ordinance, and then we had the grant match of 150, and then we also had a poll worker stipend increase for this election, for the June election, of $3,200. So as I said, this is fluid. These continue to change. We don't have any adjustments in this to revenue as of yet. We'll have those amounts when we are closer to the end of July. But like, as I mentioned, we wanted to make sure that we started the process so that we could have this approved timely. So do you have any questions? I apologize. Did you want to see anything prior to actually seeing the correct screen?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Anybody else got any questions? I got a couple of questions.
Go ahead, Henry.
All right, disaster expenses.
Yes, sir.
Do you think we will recover any of those disaster expenses?
We could potentially recover some of the disaster expenses for Hurricane Dorian, which is around 290,000. So we might recover about 75% of that as long as all of that is approved. Hasn't made it through the approval process yet. And that very often takes a couple of years to get that reimbursement from FEMA.
Okay.
Don't think the COVID-19, we could be reimbursed for some portion of that. Again, we'll have to wait and see if some of what we've classified as disaster expenses related to COVID-19 will be approved. And then there are some expenditures for the malware attack that we should receive some insurance reimbursement for, but we have not yet completed that claim, so we don't know yet what the amount will be.
So at the end of the third reading of this, which will be 2 meetings after tonight, we still won't know what we're getting back as far as disaster expenses. So when we do get it, it'll go back in it'll go in our general fund.
Correct, it will. And it would be treated more probably as miscellaneous revenue in the general fund. Yes, sir.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions?
I have one. The animal control budget, is that budgeted for JARM or is it just animal control?
It's in the sheriff department sheriff department budget as a new vehicle line item.
No, I'm talking about the whole.
Jones.
It's a separate department.
Yeah.
JARM is not, we just give them an appropriation, a certain amount of money. So this would be a county vehicle. Wouldn't be for JARM.
I'm away from the vehicle now. I'm asking about the
Oh.
animal control
budget.
The rest of the animal control budget.
It falls under the sheriff.
And does that, how much are we budgeting? When I say that, I'm talking about last year we paid $250,000 or so to JARM. How does that appear? I mean, I'm not where I can leaf through it.
It appears as the 245,000 appears as an appropriation under the agency appropriations, is what we term as Department 90, as a line item on that budget.
Yeah.
Is it specific for JARM or is it depends on whatever the administrator decides to do?
It is specific for JARM. It does say Jasper Animal Rescue Mission.
Would there be anything wrong with just reclassifying that as animal control? Just in case some other options came up?
I will have to ask probably the county attorney, Mr. Tedder, or Mr. Fulgham, what their opinion is. I'm not sure of that, but I can find out.
All right, that's just that's not something I'm adamant about, but it would sort of be a preference.
All right.
You're talking about to have it in a separate department, right, Mr. Johnson?
I'm saying instead of,
Have it in a line item by itself.
right, and instead of budgeting it for JRM,
Right.
just have it for that purpose, and our administrator can figure out how best to spend it.
I'll agree with that.
Okay. Any other questions? Tonight, we will vote. We will have the third reading on this budget. Anything that's gonna be changed on this, for this third reading has to be done in the next 30 minutes. So anything we're not happy with, we need to let them know right now. So everybody happy?
I think everybody's satisfied. How about that?
There you go. There you go.
There's a little distinction between satisfied and happy.
Amen.
Would you like me to make the change and just have a separate department for animal control, or will you make a motion and then I can change it afterwards, or would you like me to do it prior to the council meeting?
Whatever David and Andy think.
Okay, I'll find out.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any other questions? Any other comments?
Well, Mr. Chairman, let me ask you this.
Yes,
Mr. Burgess,
sir.
if you did not change that, if you did not take the animal control budget out of the sheriff department, will the sheriff have jurisdiction to using it at his discretion?
The animal control is, the animal control budget, the JARM is not in the sheriff's department.
No.
So it's a separate line item in a separate department.
Okay,
The only vehicle, the only thing that would be in the sheriff is the vehicle.
okay.
I thought you said to us earlier that the animal budget comes under the sheriff department.
No, just vehicle.
Okay, all right.
I did say that and I did misspeak. I misunderstood the question, so I did misspeak.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Ms.
You're
Burgess, I think to help clarify, the animal control officer is under the sheriff's department as well, and that's why it's in his budget.
Yes, you're right there, but the JARM portion is separate.
It's
So the
separate, that's
actual
correct.
caring of the caring of the animals and keeping the animals and feeding them medical
good.
attention, that falls under JARM.
That's correct.
Maybe instead of control, I should have said welfare.
All right.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I was just going to suggest that I think to accomplish what has been discussed is we simply change the appropriation from JARM to animal shelter.
There you go.
There you go.
That would take care of it.
Yep. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Because we're going to vote on this in 30 minutes. If not, then I'm going to listen to a motion that we adjourn and come back in 7 minutes, 8 minutes. 7 minutes. Be back. We'll go into our regular session. Okay?
Okay, I will move that we adjourn the public hearing or the workshop, whatever we in,
Workshop.
and
Okay.
and
Got a second on that?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Okay, give us about 7 minutes, people, and we'll be back. Okay?
all right.
All right.